Materials move through the plasma membrane in 3 different ways. This lecture is going to talk about passive transport. Energy is not required for passive transport, which is why it's called passive. Really, though, the energy is already stored in the system because of the concentration gradient. This means that concentration on one side of the membrane is higher than the other side, and so that is stored energy when it's a difference in the concentration. And it uses that stored energy to do the movement rather than external energy. And it moves until equilibrium is reached. There are 3 types of passive transport: diffusion or simple diffusion, facilitated diffusion, and osmosis. Let's talk about the 2 types of diffusion. Simple diffusion is when solutes move directly across the membrane, down their concentration gradient, meaning from high concentration to low concentration. So in the picture here, we have a solute or a substance outside the cell at a high concentration and a low concentration inside. If it can do passive transport by simple diffusion, it would just go directly across the membrane. And you can see that here. We've had one of these substances move across the membrane. And they would distribute until they were equal concentration inside and outside the membrane. Solutes that are able to move by simple diffusion are small in size. They're non-polar, meaning they do not have any charges or polarity or partial charges. They're no charge. And often the kinds of substances that do this are gases, like oxygen and carbon dioxide, fatty acids, so those little tails of fats, and steroids, which are small lipids. And just to remind you, a solute is a substance that's dissolved in water, and that's what's moving across the membrane in the case of simple diffusion. Facilitated diffusion is similar, moving from high to low concentration, but this time the solute can't go across the membrane by itself. Instead, it has to move through some sort of carrier protein. So here in red is an example of a carrier protein embedded in the membrane. This is a slice through of the whole thing, by the way. So it's not open. It's more of like a tunnel through the middle. Or it could be like this, where it has a shape change. But it's helping move the solute, the green solutes, into the cell. Or it could be moving out of the cell. Either way, it's moving from high concentration to low concentration. The characteristics of these solutes that do facilitated diffusion are small in size. These guys are going to be polar, meaning that they have partial charges, or they're completely charged, like a calcium ion or chloride ion, sodium ion, something with a plus or a minus. Examples of these are glucose and sucrose, which are both small carbohydrates, and they are polar. Amino acids, which are polar. And then the charged ions, and I mentioned some of these already. There's another type of passive transport called osmosis, which will be addressed in a different lecture.